So we're looking here at the 2019 paper 1 question 6. Okay, so the following inequality, solve the following inequality for x an element of r and show your solutions on the number line below. Okay, so they want us to solve this inequality and they want us to show our solutions on the number line below, and it tells us that x is an element of r and we need to be able to use that information. So if you go to the log tables, you can see there on page 23, you can see that r represents the real numbers. So real numbers just means every number. So it includes fractions, decimals, everything, right? So real numbers include everything. Okay. So we'll get going and we'll solve that question. So two bracket 3 minus x is less than 8. Okay, so to solve this, what we need to do is we need to expand this by saying 2 times 3 is 6 and 2 times negative 2 or negative x is negative 2x. So we'll get 6 minus 2x is less than 8. Okay, the next step there is try and get the x's by themselves. So what I'll need to do is I need to take this 6 here and I need to bring it over to the other side of the inequality, and I'll have minus 2x is less than 8 minus 6. So minus 2x will be less than 2. And here's the trick, right? So with an inequality, when we're dealing with inequalities, anytime we divide by a negative, we have to change the direction of the inequality sign, right? So that's going to go, if I divide both sides by negative 2, I get x is greater than and negative 1. Okay, so all I'm doing from this step to here is I'm dividing by negative 2. But when I divide by a negative 2, I change the direction of the inequality sign. That's very important. So when you divide by a negative, you must change the direction of the inequality sign. Okay, so that is that. So x is going to be more than negative 1. And we always, when we're dealing with inequalities, just think of it, the most simplest way of dealing with inequalities is treat them like you would have done in primary school, where the crocodile always eats the bigger one. So obviously here x is bigger than negative 1 because the crocodile mouth always eats the bigger one. So we're saying that x is going to be bigger than negative 1. So we need to be able to represent that on the diagram below. So how we represent that is it's going to be bigger than negative 1. So it's going to be all these numbers along here, right? Okay. It's going to include 1, include 2, include 3, include 4. It's also going to include the decimals. So it's going to include 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8. So it's actually going to include all of these. So we're going to have to highlight all of this. It's not going to include negative 1. So it says that x has to be bigger than negative 1. So how we do that is we circle the negative 1 and then we just draw a line going straight over all those numbers there, going the whole way up to infinity, right? So that would be that inequality solved. It's important for people to understand here that why we do this is because so the important thing to understand there is when we circle that, that means that we're not including negative 1, but we're including everything else after that. So we're including negative 0.99999, which will fall in there. Negative 0.8, negative 0.7, negative 0.6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So when we circle it, it means we're not including it. If we were to include that, because some questions it does ask us to include them, we'd actually colour that in. Okay, so if we were to include it, we'd colour that in. But if we're not going to include it, we leave it blank. And for that question that year, so 2019, that inequality question there was worth 10 marks. So part B. In part B, we can see here that we've got solve for the value of x. So we've got an equation where we're trying to find the value for x. And we can see with this equation that we're using algebraic indices. Okay, so this is an algebraic indices question. So we'll just write that out. 2 to the power of 2x minus 1 is equal to 64. Okay, so in order to be able to find a value for x, what I need to do is I need to make sure that these two numbers are both 2 to the power of something. So I have to change 64 to 2 to the power of something. Okay, so let's just think about that. I'll just do it over here. So 2 to the power of 2 is obviously 2 times 2, which is 4. 2 to the power of 3 is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. 2 to the power of 4 is equal to 8 times 2, which is 16. 2 to the power of 5 will be 16 times 2, which is 32. And 2 to the power of 6 will be 64. Okay, so I can go back over here, and instead of writing 2 to the power of 2x minus 1, instead of writing 64, I can write 2 to the power of 6. Okay, so now because I have the same base, I can leave the powers equal each other. Okay, so I can say that 2x minus 1 is equal to 6. So that's very important there. So I have to make sure I have the same base, which I have. So now I can leave the powers equal each other. Okay, and now it's just a matter of using simple algebra to solve, right? So 2x is equal to 6, and I'm going to bring that 1 across. So I'm going to start off there at that 1, that negative 1. If I bring that over, it'll turn into a positive 1. So 2x will be equal to 7. So to find out what 1x is, I divide both sides by 2. So 1x is equal to 7 divided by 2. So that will give me my answer there of x equals 7. Or if I wanted to write that as a number, I could write it as 3.5. And that year, 2019, that there was worth 15 marks.